9 for 9. That's what we heard when the 9 miners were rescued after being trapped at the Cute Creek mine in Somerset County.
They were trapped in a mine shaft for 3 days. And what an up and down 3 days it was for the miners and their families in July of 2002.
The community of Somerset County and people from all over the world were hoping and praying for the miracle that some didn't think was possible.
The rescue effort began last night around 9 o'clock at the Cute Creek mine near Freedens in Somerset County. The miners were trapped when they apparently ruptured a nearby abandoned mine. That mine, abandoned sometime in the 1950s, was full of millions of gallons of water. In fact, officials think as much as 60 million gallons poured into the Cute Creek mine, and the water continued to pour in overnight. There were 2 crews of miners working about 1.5 miles from the entrance of the mine when the accident happened. One crew managed to wade to safety, but the other did not.
At about midnight on July 25th, equipment began arriving on the scene to try to get to the trapped miners. At 3 a.m., rescue workers tapped on a pipe and got a response from below ground. They sent vented air in to the trapped miners. By 8 a.m., the plans to dig were finalized. The diggers would, in fact, drill 3 holes. One would be the rescue, one would be deeper to help drain the water in the mine, and the third would be used to send in heated air. At 1 o'clock, hoses were brought in to begin draining the water, and by 2, the big drill had arrived. It has been a day of ups and downs for the hundreds of people who have been involved in the rescue effort since the Cute Creek mine was flooded around 9 o'clock Wednesday night. This is the drilling area where they've been working. Late last night, rescuers right here were encouraged. The drill bit that was cutting through the rock to get to the men was sailing along. More than 100 feet down, a third of the way, then suddenly the drill bit broke and there was no replacement bit on site. That meant hours of delay, frustrations mounting. Then word the broken bit had been lifted out of the hole. A new bit was about to restart the rescue. But then more heartbreak for the family members. That bit was not out.
That drill bit in Rescue Shaft 1 was a critical step in restarting the drilling effort in Shaft 1. And yeah, I hope all of Pennsylvania realizes that it was a very positive moment. We needed it. We stopped drilling last night about 2:30, so here it is moving toward the dinner hour, and we needed that development. I'll tell you, the families felt great on hearing it.
Drill number 1, again, 17 feet away from where those miners are trapped. They stopped the drill, I understand, just to put a pressure cap on that drill. That's a safety precaution because they don't want to disturb the air bubble that they believe is keeping those 9 miners alive.
We got the confirmation from the governor about 10:45, 10:50 that they did break through.
All 9 are alive.
We are very pleased to announce that the first miner has, in fact, been pulled from the mine.
Number 2 miner at 1:15 a.m.
Boy, this is getting to be something. We're going to hear about another miner coming up. This is the 4th miner who's being brought up. These are pictures.
They're starting to slow down a little bit. So you wonder if they're here it is, Marty.
Yep.
Here it is.
We're watching it, Jennifer. We can see it. Let's just get a chance to take a look at this. You can hear the applause. We're getting near the top. We want to stay here and show you another one of the 9. There it is, the applause, number 9.
9 for 9.
Did he always believe that he was going to get out?
No. He told me. He said, this is a pure miracle. And to tell you, he told me to tell this to everybody. If you never believed in miracles, this was truly a miracle and an act of God. And he was never a big church person, but he is a true believer now, and he is 100% sure this is a miracle. And he said they knew that water kept coming in, even though they heard all the drilling. They knew they were trying. The water just still kept coming in, and that they formed a barricade. They wrote their wills, and they put them in one of the lunch boxes. And they were ready. They tied themselves together. But they're home now. That's all that counts.
Randy Fogel, Blaine Mayhew, Tom Foy, John Unger, John Philippi, Ron Heilman, Dennis Hall, Robert Pugh, and Mark Pompernak. They went in as brothers on Wednesday. They come out as brothers here on for the most part, a Sunday morning. All 9 are alive. And in the words of the governor, as it came, we believe that all 9 are in pretty good shape. And sums it up pretty good by the first words from one of the miners when they first made contact. What took you guys so long? They came, they got them, they're out. It is a mine miracle.
And the story still gives me the chills. Well, the old Somerset jail was built in 1890 and housed thousands of prisoners over the years. 8 men were actually executed inside. You can even see the gallows from which they were hanged. The first execution was actually a double one. 2 brothers sentenced to die for killing a farmer in Jenner Township. Back then, you had to have a ticket to watch executions. 35 were made available, but 100 played a sort of lottery for their chance.
Supposedly a very big attraction back then. The public would gather outside the jail, and when the hangings were over, they said the trapdoors made a horrible noise, and the public would cheer because the hangings were over.
The old jailhouse even had an isolation chamber for those prisoners who were very bad. The jail shut down in 1981 and today is used as storage space and houses several county departments. Our next Your Town took us to Bedford and with Bedford County just north of the Mason-Dixon line. During slavery, it was one of the first encounters of freedom land that many slaves saw.
There is a story about that in Cheneysville, just a short drive away from downtown Bedford. We traveled off the beaten path, literally, through a makeshift grass road to bring you the story of the Cheneysville incident and the slaves who decided that freedom through death was better than life as a servant.
A tattered American flag blows in the breeze, waving at half-mast in honor of the horror story buried deep in these grounds.
The slaves, 17 of them, I think, supposed to be buried.
Alton Imes is a member of the family that's owned this land in southern Bedford County for generations. It's said to have been one of the stops on the Underground Railroad.
The Underground Railroad supposed to went right along base of this here.
According to town folklore, between 12 and 17 slaves stopped right here in Cheneysville.
They knew that the people were chasing them and that they were closing in, and that I've heard different stories where one is that they asked the Imes to kill them, and the other is that they killed themselves because they didn't want to be caught. They didn't want to go back down south.
Nothing here has been stripped off so many times.
The graves were never fancy, just pieces of river rock that were used to mark the spots where the bodies were put. Nobody's sure which markers are for members of the Imes family or the runaway slaves, and that's been a real problem, validating the historical value of this hallowed ground.
Basically just oral tales. We have a few things that were written, but mostly it was just told from generation to generation. We haven't found any more documentation.
In 1981, David Bradley, who grew up in Bedford, published a book called The Cheneysville Incident, a fictional account of the slave family.
A lot of people heard about it from the book.
People started flocking here to pay their respects.
You can sign in, leave a note, and we have had people from all over the United States.
But even Bradley says he's not sure if the story is true.
The only story that came to me came from my mother.
He lives out of state now, but says his mom discovered the tale in town.
Most things about black people in general and slaves in particular were not written down, especially in places like Cheneysville and the South County. How they died, well, they're dead because they're buried. We don't know. It's a matter of legend and speculation.
So then, what is the Cheneysville incident?
It's a story about something that might have happened. It's a different view of history than we are taught in school books. Things weren't just easy. Things were sometimes deadly.
Now, historians have tried to get the graveyard designated as a National Historic Landmark, but because there's really no documentation, that has been rejected several times. Still, people in town are convinced the story is true, or at least based on truth.
Well, up next, our Devin Clark takes on a big burger challenge in Clearfield.
And a Center County native awarded with one of the most prestigious badges in the military. But first, time to reveal our next Your Town community for 2015, Phillipsburg. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Up next, we made a trip to Clearfield, and while we were there, we got some food, but nothing like what Devin Clark, well, it says here ate, but really tried to eat.
Right. Denny's Beer Barrel Pub claims to offer the world's largest hamburger challenges while still taking pride in being a locally owned and operated business. And we sent Devin to attempt one of the challenges.
Wow. That is huge. That's only 2 pounds?
That's it.
2 pounds.
2 pounds of burger.
Wow. All right. How do I even attack this thing?
Any way you like. We have the world's largest hamburger challenges. We have a 2 pound, a 3 pound, a 16, a 15, a 25. Those are our challenge burgers. We also have set world records with our 50 pounder and our 123 pound burger.
This is perfect because I'm hungry.
We were in the burger business for quite some time. In the very early 90s, 90, 91, I actually had a customer who was driving me crazy. I was making my ground pounders, and as fast as I'd make one, he'd order another one. So one day I put them together and brought it out. He said, "That's a great idea, but you need a bigger bun." That's basically how it all began.
This is crazy. All right, so can I get a knife and fork?
No knives and forks.
Oh, I can't use it?
Challenge.
Uh-oh. All right, well, here goes. It's very good, though.
Yeah, we have our own, actually, grinder. Does all our own meat. And we started having people basically come out of the woodwork. A lot of the competitive eater corps have been through our building. They said we're a springboard for what they go out and do.
For sure, I know there's no way I'm going to even finish a quarter of this.
I'm proud to be able to offer customers a great service, a lot of fun, good food.
It was about the best burger I've ever eaten.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm from Fayette County. Fayette County has nothing like this.
Well, I think I'm going to tap out.
You're going to tap out?
Yeah.
One of the things a lot of people do whenever they tap out, they hang the white flag.
Oh, man.
So we're going to do that for you.
Oh, man.
It's the sign of defeat.
I've been defeated by the 2 pounder here.
I'm proud of my community, proud to be a big part of it, and whatever we can do to help fill our hotels, help fill Bob's Army and Navy and Grace's and every gas station, every other restaurant in town. I'm pleased to be a part of that.
So I couldn't finish the challenge. I don't even think I can get out of this seat. I feel defeated.
Well, for your humble representation here at WJAC, I'd like to present you a T-shirt where you came to eat, then you tasted defeat.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I know we could have finished one of those
easily.
burgers.
Yeah, it would have been no problem. None whatsoever.
Well, the next person we're going to feature is from State College, a town we also visited this summer. He has the honor of holding a prestigious badge with less than 11 awarded every year. And at the age of only 24, he is the second newest guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery.
All year round, 24 hours each shift. Sergeant Luke Porter is in charge of protecting 3 unknown soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Most would consider it an extreme honor that Porter says is not his.
He sat down with Maria Miller for his first on-camera interview.
A friend of mine, a soldier of mine, kind of urged me and said, "Hey, this is really an outstanding mission. These guys down here are the best. You should come down and try it." I said, "How can I resist?" So volunteered, they selected me, and I came down for training.
Sergeant Luke Porter makes it sound easy, but that's just him being humble. To get where he is now, guarding the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington National Cemetery, it takes years of training and testing, being pushed beyond physical and mental exhaustion to stand out above the rest. Every week, Porter stays in tight quarters just behind the tomb. He's required to keep everything in immaculate order, from his bed to his uniform and his gun. His shifts are 24 hours, with most of the time spent on the plaza guarding the unknown. 3 soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice.
It's hard to maintain that schedule, but once you get it, hang of it, once you really get into being a tomb guard and you really understand the mission, then it becomes a little bit simpler.
The heat nearly unbearable for most visitors the day we caught up with Sergeant Porter, many taking cover under the trees to escape the beating sun and temperatures in the high 90s. But Porter and the other guardsmen hardly broke a sweat, even in their suits made entirely of wool.
Top to bottom wool. And yeah, it's hot. So all we do all day is drink water. And as you go through and you actually conduct more walks, more changes in the heat, you become more used to it.
Each step on the plaza made with precision, signifying specific instructions to the soldier on duty.
As soon as I come on, you'll hear me scrape my heel. And that's when I do that, that's initiating that I'm going to do a guard change. The soldier on the mat understands that I'm here, I get ready to do it. So once I get to centers, I come, I announce myself.
I am Sergeant Porter of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
I salute the unknowns, turn, and then we walk together back down the mat.
From there, the crowd gets quite the show, an impressive display of flips and turns of the gun that at the same time serves as a complete inspection.
We actually are checking the functionality of the weapon, ensuring that all parts are in the right place and that everything is serviceable. And then I'll do a uniform inspection on the soldier coming on to ensure that he has no uniform malfunctions. Because all we do out there is to honor the unknowns in the best of our ability. And in order to do that, we have to do everything to the best of our ability.
Porter is just the 623rd soldier ever to be awarded the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier badge and title of Sentinel. It happened during a ceremony in June held just for him at Arlington.
He didn't volunteer to do this to honor himself. He does it in selfless reverence for the unknowns. And that's what makes him extraordinarily special.
That was the most nervous I've ever been when I was here. To have not only what was said about me said, but also to have my entire family, my colleagues down here at the tomb, former badge holders all the way up to number 6, one of the original badge holders that ever came down here.
Porter professional during the entire ceremony, standing at attention, his face stone cold, until a hug from Mom formed a slight smile beyond his control.
It was just a real emotional moment. So just, I don't know, having her there and having her a part of the ceremony was a big part of it for me.
So what's next for a 25-year-old who's already accomplished so much? Returning home to State College is on the list.
That's what I'm going to apply for. I'm going to go to Penn State and try to get a management degree. So hopefully from there I'll get commissioned in the Army and spend the next several years.
For now, Porter is looking forward to spending the next 8 months guarding the tomb, wearing the second least awarded badge in the Army, second only to the Army Astronaut Badge. But Porter says the honor isn't his.
We appreciate doing it. That's one thing that a lot of guys come down here, they don't understand that. They don't understand that it's not an honor for you, it's an honor for them. You're honoring the unknowns. And everything we do down here is in light of that mission.
Maria Miller, 6 News.
In 1938, the Warner Brothers opened a theater in State College, now called State Theater. And back in those days, this was a test market for new films. Today, it is a community-owned and run theater, but it's been a bumpy road, almost closing its doors for good in the early 2000s. Donations and a group of dedicated people rallied to keep the theater open, and now it is a hub for all sorts of entertainment.
We're going to reveal the final 2 communities selected for the 2015 edition of Your Town when we come back.
And we certainly want to thank you for joining us as we looked back at the people and places of your town.
We certainly had a lot of fun this past summer.
Yeah, we did.
We're going back to Luigi's. I know that's one thing, and we can't wait to do it again.
Now here are the final 2 communities we're going to visit this coming summer, Evansburg and St. Mary's.
And a look at all of the communities that we've selected for 2015. Here they are: Richland Township, Hollidaysburg, DuBois, Everett.
Also Bellefonte, Phillipsburg, Evansburg, and St. Mary's. That does it for us. Thanks again for joining us for our Your Town special.
And the best part about this was we got to meet so many of you. We hope we get a chance to meet even more of you this coming summer. But we want to leave you with a few shots of our trips to your town.